Good morning and welcome to Raised in Alaska. Well, I say morning, it's morning for me right now. I guess you could be watching this in the evening, so maybe it should be good evening, good afternoon. I'm going to stick with good morning because it is morning for me, and if you're watching it in the afternoon, kind of bear with my mistake there perhaps. Today we're going to talk about jerky real quickly. I'm going to do a quick introduction here, and then we'll take you into the process of making jerky. And so one of the cool things about jerky is it just offers you a different way to eat your bounty. You know, classically in your freezer, you're going to have burger, you're going to have roast, you're going to have steaks. The nice thing about jerky is you have one different variety of really the same meat, and so you could eat it different ways, and it kind of has a different purpose. And what I mean by that is when I go hiking, I can just throw some jerky in my pack, done. I obviously couldn't throw some hamburger in my pack. When I go fishing, I could just throw some in my boat. When I go hunting or whatever, I can just take some jerky along, and then I have a lightweight, high protein, really good meal. And so number one, it's good that way, but number two, it's a good way to use some of your meat, meaning when you harvest a moose, you're going to have between 3 and maybe as much as 600 pounds of usable meat. And that's a lot of meat to eat in a year. And so it's nice to have a lot of variety and different ways to use it, and it's nice to be able to augment it into your diet in lots of different ways. And so I think jerky is a phenomenal way to do that. Several years ago, I made some jerky out of a winter caribou that I harvested, and it turned out absolutely phenomenal. And I haven't done jerky for years, and so I decided that I'm going to go ahead and use 3 roasts from my moose, make some jerky, see how it turns out. And so I'm going to show you the process right now, and at the end of this video we'll come back and I'll just talk a little bit about how it all went. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and start making my jerky here, and I put 1 tablespoon of salt in here. I have the recipe right here. This is a half a cup of Tamara, and this has 9 ounces in it. And so I'm going to just run everything up because I'm actually going to exceed the amount of meat this recipe calls for in here. And so I'm going to put this whole jar in there. I'm going to put 3 tablespoons of Worcestershire sauce in this. Well, there's hardly any left in that bottle, so I'm going to use it all up. 1 tablespoon of Tabasco sauce. Two tablespoons of Mrs. Dash. I should have started with the dry first, right? Just rinse it off. A teaspoon of garlic. And I'm going to add a little bit more because we have a little bit more here, right? A teaspoon of garlic and a teaspoon of onion powder. And I need to add 3/4 of a cup of water to that, but I'll get to that. Now I'm going to cut up this meat and put it in here. I want it in pretty thin strips. The nice thing is this is still frozen in the middle, and so that'll make it so that you can cut it easier. And I'm looking for about a 1/4 inch or so. And I'm intentionally cutting this against the grain of the muscles going this way, and so I'm cutting it the opposite way against the grain, and that way it'll make it a lot more tender when you go to try to eat it, even this jerky. And this last little piece I'm going to save back. I'm going to use that in my stew that I'll make in a little bit. The trick here is to find which way this mussel is going. I want to say that we're going that way there. And I'm going to, again, I'm going to square this up and just use this for roast stuff here. So I got some roast action going on. That was a really nice piece of meat. And so I'm going to put all these in this marinade, and I'm going to let it sit here for a few hours. And then I'll put it on smoke, and then I'll probably smoke it for about 2 hours, and then I will put it in the dehydrator and let it finish in the dehydrator. And so I'll fill this up with water so that everything is got stuff on it. The rest of this is going to go in with my stew meat in a little bit here. I'm going to spray some canola oil on my racks that are going to go in the smoker so that the jerky doesn't stick to them. And I'm going to have one that I do that's going to be thin and one that's thick, because I wasn't super awesome about getting them all exactly the same thickness. Some of these are almost thick enough to be steaks. Whoever cut these did a bad job. Put a colander in here just so it drains some of the water out of it. Here they are. Here it is in the smoker. It looks like I got 6 racks of moose, and I'm going to put about 2 hours of smoke on them now. So this is an insulated cover I put over it to partially keep the smoke in, but also to keep the heat in. So there we go. That's been smoked for about 2 hours. So it's got a little bit of smoke on it. We're going to take it out and put it onto dehydrating trays now. I don't want to overlap any of them. And they will shrink up as they dry, certainly. I'm going to turn the fan up a lot, and I'm going to turn this up to about 165, which is high. Turn it on. I don't know if you can hear it going, but I can hear it going. And so it pushes there and the air comes out there. So we're gonna let it go. We'll check in on it once in a while. Okay, so I've been rotating these racks for several hours now. And some of these are probably done. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna pick and choose, and the ones that are done I'm gonna take out. And you can tell because there's no squishiness left in it. And obviously the ones that are the thinnest, like that's a real thin one, that one's going to be done. And so what I just did was I took the top one, put it all the way on the bottom. The bottom one's on the top now. I'll just put that back on there and let it keep going. So we got a little bit so far. Going down to just 2 racks now. Probably another hour and that's all going to be done. All right. So that is 3 roasts. What we'll end up doing is vacuum packing this up as well. But we'll do that. I'll show you that process. These roasts really, they went from probably this much across, this much, to a package about this big. So it's not it doesn't take up as much space, most certainly. I'm not really concerned about space in here. But it did turn out really, really well. I'm super happy with the way it turned out, and I think that we're going to be able to use it on our hikes and stuff like that. And the cool thing is I'll be able to share it with friends when they come up, you know, be like, hey, try this out, I made this. And so it turned out fantastic, and I will most certainly do it again next year. Thanks for tuning in today. We always appreciate your support.